We're about a week away from the release of WWE 2K22, and other than some people on Reddit who are quite upset at the limitations on GM mode, fans are mostly excited for the upcoming 2K wrestling game. Which is weird, wrestling talk on Reddit is usually so measured and relaxed. Anyway, it's been a while since we've had a major wrestling game come out, and from everything I've seen, it looks like WWE 2K22 might really impress. I don't know about you, but I'm excited. I haven't played it myself yet, but there is no shortage of gameplay available out there on the YouTube for you to observe. In fact, our own Brian Mazik here at Operation Sports put out a video not too long ago talking about his hands-on experience playing 2K22, and that made me even more excited. But we won't know for sure until the game is in our own hands. The deluxe and NWO versions of the game drop on March 8th, 2022, and the standard version March 11th, by the way. So we know most of what we're getting when that game does come out, but as we head down the home stretch, the only thing left to reveal is exactly who made the final cut in terms of roster. We're finding out more wrestlers and more official ratings every day, but we still don't exactly know who will be in the game officially and who will be relegated to the community creations. Today, we're going to focus on WWE 2K22's DLC, downloadable content, specifically the wrestlers who will be made available to purchase and download once 2K does release in March. Keyword there being wrestler, because we do have confirmation that rapper MGK Machine Gun Kelly will not only be appearing in WWE 2K22 as playable DLC, but will also be heading up the soundtrack NBA 2K13 Jay-Z style. So with Machine Gun Kelly already confirmed, maybe we're going to get a celebrity DLC pack. They could throw in Bad Bunny, who performed at last year's WrestleMania, or Logan Paul, Johnny Knoxville, Pat McAfee, who are all slated to perform at this year's WrestleMania. They could even go deep into the vault and grab a Mr. T or Kevin Federline, or one of the many A-list stars who have been involved with WWE in the past. So putting all celebrity involvement aside for the time being, we are Operation Sports. I'm Matt Ederer, and here are 10 wrestlers who probably will be DLC in WWE 2K22. Start with Ronda Rousey. Ronda is going to be in the main event of Night 1 of WrestleMania 38. She's got to be involved with 2K22 to some extent, you'd think. But Ronda's return to WWE was seemingly a last-minute deal set up around this January's Royal Rumble. I assume that Ronda wasn't in WWE's short-term plans until long after development on 2K22 had already begun, so I think we can expect Ronda Rousey to come as WWE 2K22 DLC, hopefully sooner than later. It would be nice to have her in time for WrestleMania, but I doubt that. But you could even add her to that celebrity pack if you wanted to. She was in Furious 7. Also, the biggest female star in the history of mixed martial arts. So there's that. So yeah, we've established, I think there's going to be a celebrity pack featuring at least Machine Gun Kelly and Ronda Rousey for sure. I would bet Bad Bunny, maybe Johnny Knoxville too. Let's focus on an NXT 2.0 pack that I bet is coming around September, which would be the 1-year anniversary of the switchover from NXT actually good to NXT 2.0. Nah, the new NXT gets a little too much hate. The good stuff on that show is still pretty good. The unfortunate thing is, the bad stuff on NXT 2.0 is the worst in all of professional wrestling. It's absolutely terrible and embarrassing. Anyway, moving on. Here are some good things from the new NXT 2.0 brand, starting with Braun Breaker, the son of Rick Steiner, which for some reason is still a secret on WWE TV, but Braun Breaker himself might be one of the best, if not the best, prospect in pro wrestling since Brock Lesnar. Braun Breaker is currently the men's NXT World Champion, and between his physical gifts, his freak athleticism, and the blood of Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner flowing through his veins, Braun Breaker appears to be a can't-miss WWE talent, which I'm sure means he'll be fired before SummerSlam. That brings us to Carmelo Hayes, arguably the single biggest success story of the NXT 2.0 era. He's gone from nothing to huge star on that brand. Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams are, much like Braun Breaker, future stars in the making. Trick is essentially the hype man, although he does wrestle from time to time as well, but the true in-ring star, the meat and potatoes of the act, is Carmelo Hayes, formerly known as Christian Casanova on the indie scene. Melo is currently the NXT North American Champion, which is basically the NXT Intercontinental title. He's also won and retired the NXT Cruiserweight title. In Braun and Melo, WWE might indeed have their LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony for the next few years. These might be the two big stars that the next decade of WWE is built on. Next up, we have MSK, Wes Lee, and Nash Carter, former NXT Tag Team Champions, winners of last year's Dusty Cup and losers of this year's Dusty Cup final. MSK will be on the main roster sooner than later. That is, nothing is certain in WWE, but that's about as certain as something could be. I wouldn't be shocked to see them on Raw or SmackDown after WrestleMania. They've already had main roster involvement by introducing their shaman, WWE Raw's Matt Riddle. So I think they're going to Monday Night Raw to team with Riddle, maybe after Orton turns on him, which we all know is coming one day anyway. It's neither here nor there. These guys are pretty awesome. They're a high-flying tag team, something of a stoner gimmick. They're basically the Hardy Boys meet Cheech and Chong. So your mileage might vary on the gimmick, on their character, but the in-ring work is spectacular. These guys are really great. And speaking of spectacular in-ring work, let's close this pack on Ilya Dragunov, the current champion of NXT UK. Dragunov is definitely the best wrestler we've mentioned so far. He's like 25% Finn Balor, 25% Bryan Danielson, 25% Khabib Nurmagomedov, and 25% bull in an antique store. This man is just crushing people and breaking things. He's had numerous classic matches already in his WWE career, numerous. And in a fair world, he would be main eventing on Raw or SmackDown instead of WWE NXT UK. Unfortunately, he's 5'8" and English is his second language, so he will never get a chance on the main roster. And that's just the way it is in WWE. But I hope I'm wrong, and I hope he has a tremendously long career and goes to the WWE Hall of Fame. Either way, if I had to bet, I would say that all 5 of these people are going to be available on the game in an NXT 2.0 DLC pack coming down the road. My guess is right around September to coincide with the 1-year anniversary of 2.0. I think there are a few more DLC packs coming, so let's focus on those, starting with a Ruthless Aggression pack. Probably going to be a pack centered on mid-2000s era WWE superstars, built around these two locks. Starting with Umaga. There have been tons of rumors that Umaga, the Samoan bulldozer, will be a playable character in WWE 2K22. Umaga was a pretty big star during his WWE run, wrestling for the WWE title numerous times and representing Vince McMahon versus Donald Trump in the Battle of the Billionaires, where Umaga lost to Bobby Lashley and Vince McMahon lost his hair. Cousin of Roman Reigns and member of the legendary NOI wrestling dynasty, Umaga, aka Eddie Fatu, sadly passed away on December 4th, 2009. He is greatly missed, and it's awesome that WWE 2K have gotten him back in the mix through the form of their video game. And if rumors and innuendo are to be believed, Umaga will be joined by the Boogeyman. Fun story about the Boogeyman that you may have forgotten. During the 2004 Tough Enough competition, Marty Wright, aka the Boogeyman, was actually eliminated for lying about his age. He said he was 30, but in fact was 40, which was above the 35-year-old cutoff for the competition. Though he was cut from Tough Enough, WWE did invite him to OVW, which was their NXT at the time, Ohio Valley Wrestling. It was there where he developed the Boogeyman character, and by July 2005, the Boogeyman would start being advertised for SmackDown. It's pretty crazy how quickly he went from disgraced Tough Enough washout to legitimate WWE superstar. He got a humongous push for a few seconds there too, defeating JBL at the Royal Rumble in 2006 and Booker T at WrestleMania that year. He actually defeated Booker T and Sharmell in a handicap match. Boogeyman will go down in history as WWE's Danny Almonte, the old guy who just wanted a shot to dominate the younger competition. He will be coming to a WWE 2K22 game near you, probably alongside Umaga and some others, maybe Carlito, who knows, in a DLC pack later this year. And there's one more pack to talk about. I'm not sure if it's going to be an Attitude Era pack or a super heavyweight pack maybe, or exactly what the theme of this one's going to be. But rumors have been clear that two big legends will be appearing in WWE 2K22. And when we say big, we mean, enormous. Anyway, let's start with Yokozuna, aka Agatupu Rodney Anoa'i, another member of the Anoa'i wrestling dynasty. Yoko debuted in 1984 and wrestled basically all the way up until his death in October of the year 2000. The nephew of the wild Samoans Afa and Sika, Yokozuna was pretty easily the best wrestler ever at his size in the history of wrestling, ever, by far. During his WWF run, he was legitimately around 500 pounds, but he could still move pretty well, had a shocking amount of explosivity and grace for a man his size. I mean, he'd run circles around the Haystacks Calhouns of the world, A former two-time WWF World Champion, two-time WWF Tag Team Champion with Owen Hart, and WWE Hall of Famer class of 2002. Sadly, Rodney Anoa'i passed away at the age of 34, which is just way too young to go. And like Umaga, he has been missed. A tremendous blow to the wrestling industry, and it's great to see him included in WWE 2K again. We're going to finish up our list tonight by talking about maybe the greatest big fat boy wrestler ever in the history of big fat boy wrestling, Big Van Vader. A center/guard for the University of Colorado and third round NFL draft pick in 1978, which is actually pretty damn impressive. Big Van Vader was on the roster for the Los Angeles Rams, actually won an NFC championship ring, but sadly spent that whole season on the injured reserve and retired, having never played a single snap in the NFL due to a ruptured patella. As the legend goes, he was apparently discovered in a gym in Los Angeles and brought into the world of pro wrestling, and by the 1990s was already a huge star before he even joined WCW in 1991, where he won 3 world titles and the US title. Vader then joined the WWF in 1996 after tremendous success in WCW, and though he did not enjoy the success in WWF that he did in other places, it doesn't change the fact that Vader is one of the very best and most convincing pro wrestlers of all time, and a lot of people's pick, including my own, for the best big man wrestler ever to do it. I don't know much about much, but I'm fairly confident that I would lose to Prime Vader in a real fight. The guy was awesome and terrifying in the wrestling ring. And also, sneaky great pick for wrestling games. Crazy power strikes, crazy power grapples, and also he does flips. What's not to like about that? So those are 10 people who we feel are locks to be DLC in WWE 2K22. We'll look back on this list in a year or so and see how we did, but that's going to do it for us today at Operation Sports. Keep it locked here for the best coverage in sports video games. We got Prince and Brian Unique Mazik talking some WWE 2K22, talking some MLB The Show 22, the 2 big ones coming out this spring. Lots of info, lots of takes to come about those 2 games. I'm excited. I'm excited to see the show on the Switch. If the frame rates aren't too terrible, if it's somewhat playable, I might actually grab it on the Switch this year and just try it out. If you like me, my name is Matt Ederer. You can hear more of me over at Sunday Night's Main Event Radio, every Sunday night in Canada, on terrestrial radio, iHeartRadio app, or in podcast form, wherever you get your podcasts. We have a lot of great stuff on the show. We chat wrestling every week with Dave Meltzer himself. We have some awesome interviews, including AEW Tag Team 2.0, Jeff Parker and Matt Lee last week. Good Canadian lads. That was a ton of fun. Many more great interviews to come. Lots more with Dave. A little bit more with me on the show. So check that out if you haven't yet. Thank you all very much for watching this video. Thank you for listening. Most importantly, stay safe out there. And, Vince McMahon, if you're listening, please don't wrestle Pat McAfee this year. That's a terrible idea. You are 76 years old. Thank you.